It's no way to keep it out of the tyrant's hands and the bad guy's hands.
My worries, though, are if it gets in the wrong hands.
There will be collateral, and pretty serious.
Is it going to take a lot of human jobs in creating this digital god? If that's a fair word to use.
What we create will turn against us, not because technology is bad.
Purpose. I mean, in my travels, the thing that I've noticed that seemed to be a common denominator of whatever we define happiness as is just having a reason to get out of bed in the morning, something to look forward to. And that's, I think, the beginning of purpose. Whether that is in a place in farmers in Mali, Africa, where their reason to get out of bed is to go tend the crops that day for that evening's meal. That's their daily purpose to sustain. Purpose gives us, it's when we have something to invest in. I think that we feel like we can build. Like it's gonna, we all want to have some sort of traction that we feel like we've evolved from yesterday to today to tomorrow. And that doesn't happen all the time. A lot of things are, one-offs, but when we have purpose and it's something that we're building, we can feel it grow and sometimes go backwards, but keep moving forward in the big picture. Through our lifetime, and then hopefully something to leave behind to continue to grow for people that follow us to grow. That's the immortal purposes are the I think the best ones to have if we can have them. That will live beyond us.
So we can't lead without purpose. It needs to be something that is ever evolving.
Yep.
And that we can leave behind.
I began as a very young girl wanting to go to Africa, live with wild animals and write books about them. Everybody laughed at me. We're going back 80 years. I'm 90 now. So going back 80 years, I was told girls couldn't do that sort of thing. But I was really lucky. And there are young women out here, young women who have children. And I was so lucky to have a mother who said, if you really want to do this, you must work really hard, take advantage of every opportunity, and don't give up. And she was the only one. Everybody else laughed at me. How would I do that? I was just a mere girl. So anyway, as many of you know, I did get to Africa. I did get the opportunity to live with and learn from not just any animal, but the one most like us, the chimpanzee. And I spent so many amazing years learning about these, our closest living relatives. And what is so extraordinary, maybe it's not to some of you, but I wish it was, that as recently as 1962, well, that may not seem recent to some of you. It seems pretty recent to me. I hadn't been to college because we couldn't afford it, but my mentor said I had to get a degree. There was no time for an undergraduate degree, so I had to go for a PhD. And he got me a place. Yeah, so he got me a place in Cambridge University in England, and I was nervous. Imagine how I felt when I was told, well, everything you've done is wrong. You shouldn't have given the chimpanzees names. They should have had numbers. You can't talk about them. They're just animals. You can't talk about them having personalities, minds, and emotions. Those are unique to humans. That's what was thought by science then. There was an unbroken line between us and them. But because the chimpanzees are so like us, because they kiss, embrace, hold hands, pat one another, because males compete for dominance, standing upright, swaggering, bristling, shaking their fist and reminding me so much of some human male politician. Long childhood, because like us, young chimps have a lot to learn by observing, because like us, young chimps have a lot to learn by observing, imitating, and practicing. Because they use tools, because we now know in different parts of Africa there are different chimpanzee cultures. And it was a shock to find that like us, they have a dark, aggressive, brutal side. They're capable of a kind of primitive war and killing. But like us, they have a gentle side, love, compassion, and true altruism as when an unrelated male may adopt an infant whose mother has died and save that child's life. So gradually science has changed because of the chimps, and that's opened a doorway into understanding other animals too. And we now know, I mean, did you know that goldfish can be trained to play soccer? And I'm not joking, you can Google it. And there's a Chinese scientist, and he's got 3 goldfish on each side, and they will try and get the ball into the opposite goal. I mean, I've watched them do it. So, you know, and we now know that trees can communicate. So there's so much about nature that we have learned. And so from being in my dream world out in Africa, in the rainforest, feeling a very strong spiritual connection with the natural world. And then realizing that across Africa, chimp numbers were dropping and forests were being cut down. And therefore, feeling I must now leave my paradise and go out and see what I could do. By then there were different field study sites. When I began, it was just me. And so I visited them. I learned a lot about the plight of the chimps, but I learned about the plight of the people living in and around chimpanzee habitat, crippling poverty, lack of good health and education facilities, farmland overused and infertile. And it came to a head when I flew over the tiny Gombe National Park, which is where our chimpanzee study is still going on in its 63rd year with a team of researchers. But this is back in the late 1980s. What had been part of the great forest equatorial belt across Africa, I now look down in horror from this tiny plane to see a little island of forest that was Gombe National Park and all around bare hills. And it was clear there were more people living there than the land could support, too poor to buy food from elsewhere, struggling to survive. Why were they destroying the environment? Because they needed to make money from charcoal or timber, or because they needed new land to grow more food for their growing families. And so that's when it hit me. If we don't help these people find ways of making a living without destroying the environment, we can't save chimps, forests, or anything else. And so we began a program. There's no time to go into it. You can Google it. Takare, T-A-C-A-R-E, very holistic, including things like going into the village with a local team of Tanzanians and asking the villagers what we could do to help them. Not arrogant white people going in and saying, well, this is what we're going to do to make your lives better. No. And so that program is now in all the villages throughout Chimp Range in Tanzania, and it's in 6 other African countries. And it's including now up-to-date technology like GIS, GPS, satellite imagery, and in some places we're using camera traps. So this kind of technology is coming into our research now. And then finally, I think this is going to be another question. Is it about youth?
You can keep going.
All right. So, well, traveling around the world trying to raise money for these programs to help people out of poverty. And, you know, it doesn't come enough into conservation talking about the fact that people living in poverty are destroying their environment. In the wild areas, because of what I've just said, but in urban areas, people are buying the cheapest junk food because that's all they can afford, and that food is harming the environment, almost always. That's why it's cheap. Anyway, trying to raise money for all this and realizing if young people are not understanding the need for protecting the environment, we might as well give up now. You know, AI we're already using in our work at Gombe and around Africa, and we're using it for camera traps, and we're using it in a way that images captured on camera traps of shy chimpanzees or other animals, they can actually be identified by AI, so we can get a feeling of how many chimpanzees there are. We can even name them, even though we've never seen them. So very different from my studies where I knew every chimpanzee like a family member. But, you know, that's how things move on. And we also use the kind of new AI that's coming in with satellite imagery and things like that. So I can think of many, many ways AI can make the world a better place. My worries, though, are if it gets in the wrong hands. And there's one country, I won't say its name, but if somebody crosses the road at the wrong place, by the time they get to the other side, their card has been docked of the fee for crossing the road at the wrong place. And that's, you know, a dictatorship. That's the scare. And AI, like everything else, is a tool. And the tool can be used in different ways. A saw can be used to cut down dead wood and do something useful with it, or it can be used to cut down a living tree and thus make the carbon dioxide stored in the tree released into the atmosphere. And so AI is like that. And when it's in good hands, then fantastic. But it's not always in good hands. Can AI answer how we keep it out of bad hands?
Right.
Let's ask. Maybe a few words from you, Sadhguru, and then Matthew, I'll give you the last word on it. Thank you.
See, what we are referring to as artificial intelligence is a tremendous empowerment. We are on that threshold where human beings could launch themselves to become superhuman beings. Well, to be super with anything is only good when whatever our intent and identities are all-inclusive. Between nations, between organizations, between political parties, when we don't trust each other, this could have a lot of upheavals. So inevitably that's going to be there, but still, you cannot stop a technology. First of all, what you see as a technology is human aspiration. You cannot ever plug human aspirations. If you plug that, then the very purpose of who we are and what we are will go away. So how to have fulfillment of human aspirations without being destructive, that's a question. Well, at the pace at which this particular technology will go, the transition time that it allows people to catch up is so little. So there will be collateral. We should take care to ensure that collateral is minimized. It cannot be avoided. There will be collateral and pretty serious, but we must minimize it with some compassionate heart and above all an inclusive approach towards everything. Because if you're an ant, you can crawl where you want. If you become an elephant, you can't walk wherever you want, you'll crush too many things. So right now, we've become way bigger than elephants, way bigger. Every human being, the footprint is so big that if we step in wrong places, damage will happen. And in terms of creating well-being, which is there in everybody's mind, it is just the scale. See, every human being is working for well-being. Some people are thinking, my own well-being, all that matters. They get married and children and stuff, they say, me and my family well-being, me and my community, me and my nation. We have come to a point of communication and vision and ability to see things clearly that we should not think on these terms in future. Anything that we think has to be universal, otherwise we will be a very destructive force because our capabilities are reaching that point.
Profound. Thank you.
Yeah, AI is going to have consequences both ways.
Yeah.
I think we have to admit that. It's no way to keep it out of the tyrant's hands and the bad guy's hands. Just hope it's in more good hands. You know, one of the particulars for me, and I was talking about Green Light Grant Initiative and working with Salesforce on this, is one of the main challenges is these 50-page grants that so many of these superintendents have to fill out to even have the potential to get awarded a grant. they don't have the time or the expertise to do that. We're working with Salesforce on a program that would fill out 90% of those grants. 90% of each 50-page grant, say 45 pages. And then the superintendent would go in and fill out some details, and that would be a grant that they would be able to fill out and send in to the government agencies to possibly get awarded. So that's something specifically. I'm excited about what Mark and Salesforce are doing with this idea of agent force. I am excited about that. I mean, it's a human assistant. Is it going to take a lot of human jobs? It is. It is. Is it going to be able to work 24/7 though and not clock out 365 all around the world, be omnipresent in any language at any time? Yes, that's very exciting as far as productivity for sure. I personally use it a little bit for creativity. I summarize stories, I tell stories and try to get images and art from it to give me some art from summarizing stories. I am curious how many of us in creating this digital God, if that's a fair word to use, and I wouldn't use a capital G there, but how many of us will be bowing to that instead of a spiritual God? That concerns me a little bit, that's not really the right path to a higher ground. But overall, I am excited and optimistic. These things have gone on. I mean, we've had industrial revolutions, we've had big changes in society throughout time, and I think we're on the hinge of one, obviously, right now. And let's see what we create, because we are creating a vision of ourselves. And that mirror, we're going to be looking in a mirror when AI is realized, and what we see may surprise us. Hopefully it can surprise us in a wonderful way where we go, I didn't know I looked so good. It could also surprise us in a detrimental way where we go, oh, I thought I looked better than this.
This aspect, what Matthew pointed out, it's an extension, an expansion of who we are, in a way. In many ways, the process of evolution, one of the most beautiful things the evolutionary process has produced is the human mind. But today, human mind is the basis of most of the misery that human beings go through. It's what should have been a miracle has become a misery manufacturing process for themselves and also share it with others in so many different ways. So now this AI is going to be a super expansion of our own mind. So we need to really watch this carefully. As a part of this, because my work is with people and I see in how many ways human beings can produce misery for themselves, forget about others, for themselves, in how many ways. Essentially their intelligence turning against themselves, that's what it means. We can give it so many different names, but essentially our own intelligence is turning against us. You can call this stress, tension, anxiety, depression, whatever, but essentially our own intelligence is poking us. What is a miracle has become misery. So, once again it's important that human beings learn how to make a miracle out of this. As this transformative technologies are unfolding, it's extremely important that we focus on individual human transformation. If we don't do that, what we create will turn against us, not because technology is bad, simply because we don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, I agree, thank you so much. I think, we heard it was a tool and a mirror and an extension of us. And, I have a lot of hope that it will be beautiful. I know there's a lot of people in the room working on incredibly powerful use cases for this technology, and we have to walk into it with intention and inclusion and universality. And I really appreciate you all being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.